Huge positive news on Social Security. Gigantic, and I guarantee no one else is going to talk about it. But that's why you come to Heritage Wealth Planning as the first stop on your YouTube day to see what's going on in the world out there that you aren't going to hear from other sources for sure. Now, you might not always like the way I tell you it, but I'm going to tell you the way I see it, and that may or may not be something you want to hear, but in this case, it's for everybody. Left, right, in between, white, black, green, pink, everybody, this is good news, and we're going to share it with you here real quick. So let's dive into this. This is a Trump on Social Security. It really has nothing to do with Trump. Everything you need to know. But I'm going to share with you this is just freaking awesome. Now, notice real quick, this is an archived. I archived this, archive.today, and I'm going to do another video here in just a second on why you need to start using archiving to send me articles. And I'm not going to get to it right now, but I'm telling you, this is an archive. I'll share the link in the show notes, but it'll be shared through the archive URL as opposed to, where is this from? MSN. All right. So this is from Sean Williams, Trump on Social Security. We're going to read this, and I'm going to share with you. I'm telling you, hang in there because there's critical info. All right. In case you haven't heard, Social Security is in a bit of trouble. A number of ongoing demographic changes have Social Security on track to completely exhaust its $2.9 trillion in assets by 2035. Interesting. It used to be 2033, then 2034. I think it's even 2032, and now 2035. Should this happen, Social Security won't be bankrupt, but it would mean a sweeping benefit cuts. All right. Social Security needs a fix, and its lawmakers on Capitol Hill will have to deliver that resolution. Today, we'll take a look closer at incumbent Trump's views on Social Security. All right, I don't really care about all that real quick. I'm going to show you, though. He did say this in 2013 talking to CPAC, which I completely agree with. As Republicans, if you think you are going to change very substantially for the worse, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, is just not going to happen. What we have to do and the way we solve our problems is to build a great economy. I could not agree with that more without question. In other words, Trump understands that if direct resolutions are made to Social Security and other entitlement programs, some groups of people are going to be worse off than they were before. That makes direct fixes to the program a dangerous game to play, and they're not going to do that. But let's read this, all right? I want right here. So basically, how's this? The program Social Security has three sources of funding: a 12.4% payroll tax on earned income, the interest earned on his asset revenues, and the taxation of benefits. So there's three ways Social Security get funded: payroll tax, interest income, and taxation of benefits. The former, the payroll tax on earned income up to $137,000, is the program's workhorse. In 2018, it was responsible for 88.5% of revenue collected. Do you hear that? So of the $1 trillion in revenue collected, $885 billion came from the payroll tax. Interesting. Net interest income doesn't amount for much because the interest rates are so low. And the taxation of benefits is silly. They should never have done that to begin with, but be it as it may, the workhorse is the payroll tax. All right. The thinking here, and this is where Sean misses it, the thinking here is that if tax cuts can bolster economic growth, workers should see an increase in wages or in income, leading to more payroll tax being collected. I agree with that, but that's not the whole issue. This increase in payroll tax collected should put Social Security on better financial footing. And that's true. But Sean, so hang in there because we're going to dive into this even deeper because Sean does say this, which is important. If you're curious, the Tax Cut and Job Act appears to have had a very modest upward effect on the Social Security. For example, in 2018, the Social Security Board of Trustees had called for the program's first net cash flow outflow since 1982 that year in 2018. But this forecast was proven wrong, with Social Security generating a net cash surplus of $3 billion. Similarly, the program's net cash surplus of a little over $2 billion in 2019 was slightly higher than the $1 billion the trustees had reported. Well, that's not slightly higher. A net cash surplus of $3 billion. This net cash surplus of $2 billion was slightly higher than the $1 billion. That's a 100% increase in what they had forecasted. So let's dive into this. I'm going to show you why this is so important. All right. So this is from the 2018 Trustees Report. And remember what we said is that the workhorse of Social Security is the payroll tax. All right, so the 2018 Trustees Report, if we look at it, we're going to have economic assumptions and methods. You know, I'll put links and all this. But what's happening here, there are 3 different ways the trustees look at Social Security. You have low cost, intermediate, and high cost. All right, so you have 3 different ways. Let me make myself bigger here. So you have 3 different ways that Social Security Trustees Report predicts and projects into the future until basically 2094. They get low cost, intermediate, and high cost. High cost is worst case scenario. Intermediate is what we always hear about. We're running out of money in 2034, now 2035. And then low cost, which would be the best case scenario. So let's dive into what those numbers actually mean and why this is so freaking awesome. All right, so here, principal economic assumptions. All right, we're going to look at intermediate, low cost, high cost. All right, so you see intermediate, low cost, or high cost. All right, so the intermediate, they got GDP, they got annual change in unemployment, CPI, consumer price index. All right, so but I want to even go down here. Hold on, right here. Right here. All right, so here's the intermediate. And look at this, average annual unemployment rate, the future projections in the intermediate term. This is against the middle of the road. What they're proposing that what most people report on is the intermediate, what they think is the most likely scenario. This is the unemployment. This column right here is the unemployment numbers. So they're saying from 2020 all the way to 2095, we're going to have 5.5% unemployment. All right, so again, look. Right there, average annual unemployment rate, 2020, 4.5 is what they're projecting in 2018 I'm sorry, that's to right there. What they're projecting in 2000 and right there, intermediate. In 2018, they projected a 5.3% unemployment, and it stayed at 5.5 essentially until the end of the century. Now, they also, let's go back, labor force, all right? So they're projecting not much of a growth in the labor force at all. Interesting. Total employment, we're not going to go into that, but I want to go to real GDP. All right, so intermediate, they had real GDP in 2020, about 2.6. A little bit higher than what we anticipated, but it's about 2.3 in 2019, 2.3. But then they got going to 2.3, 2.2, 2.12. All right, so looking like Japan model. Watch this. Nominal real interest rates, real interest rates. So nominal real interest rates, they have significantly higher than what we're getting now in terms of because our interest rates are not, we're not getting 3.9, but our real interest rate is all that matter. After inflation and after the nominal interest rate, the real interest rates are all that matter. So in 2020, they had us getting 0.8% real interest rate. So remember, we go back to this. There's 3 ways Social Security is funded. Payroll tax, interest income earned on asset reserves, and then taxation of benefits. And taxation of benefits are small potatoes. I'm just telling you, it's not even worth the ink is written on. Real interest rates, 0.8% is what they expected in 2020, 1.3, 1.7, and basically 2.5 going forward. Now let's look at low cost, all right? So that's the intermediate. That's what we all hear. We all hear that there's going to be we're going to have to run out of money in 2035. We're going to have to cut benefits. All right. This is according to 5.5% unemployment, not much growth in the labor force. On top of that, nominal or a real interest rate is being around 2 to 2.5%. You with me so far? The big driver is the labor force, though. Low cost, the best case scenario. Unemployment in 2020 is 4.5. Well, it's not that. Unemployment from 2020 until the end of the century is 4.5. That's the best case scenario. That's the best case scenario. So let's pause for a second. Go to my most recent blog post on my website at heritagewealthplanning.com, how Republicans can win on Social Security. And if we click on this, and I'll put links in the show notes, I'm going to show you something right here. All right, so this is a blog post I put. Want to guess what the unemployment now is? It's 3.6%. And this is from Trading Economics, U.S. labor force. We go to unemployment rate. Let's see where it's at. I don't know where it's at here. But anyway, it's right here, 3.6. It was 3.5 last month. It's 3.6 now. GDP growth rate 2.3 is 2.1 previously. So we have an incredibly low unemployment. I mean, relative to what this is saying, low cost, they have 4.8% 5% in 2020. Right now, we're sitting at 3.6% unemployment. We had it, what did we just say right there? We had a GDP at 2.3. The low cost had GDP at 3.8 in 2020. So we're well below that. But the GDP isn't the driver of the numbers. In fact, they go down to GDP, even the low cost, about two, the higher ends of the two. So once you get into 2022, it'd be lower than 3 in the higher end. It's the unemployment that drives everything. And then they have nominal interest rates at 1.6 to 1.9 to basically 3%. So essentially the low cost has nominal interest rates about 3, GDP growth about less than 3, and unemployment 4.5. Right now we have a little bit lower GDP numbers than what the low cost would be, but pretty doggone close. Again, they had 2 point on GDP. They had, let's see, GDP right there. They had in low cost 3.8. We're at 2.3, but then it starts dropping significantly. They had unemployment at 4.5. We're way lower than that. And then they had nominal interest rates in 2020 of 1.6. We're not there, but the interest rate is such a small potato relative to the overall workforce, which is the unemployment. I can, then if you go to high cost, look, in high cost, they got 6.5% unemployment. Crazy. So let's go back to this right here. Not only do they have labor force on this, labor force participation? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure they do some labor. Let's see, right here, labor. Unemployment rate 3.6. Labor force participation 63.4. All right, that's up. That's up by 2.2% over the course of the last. Let's see. This is. I guess over the last year is as low as labor force participation 58.1. So the labor force participation has grown by 5%. Since whenever this tracking time, I don't know if it's 1 year over, I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying, if you go back to the economic assumptions, you got labor force participation here, or earnings, GDP, average worked, product. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this right here. Yeah, labor force right there. Labor force participation is growing. Unemployment is declining. Total employment is growing. That is a driver of Social Security. And because we have incredible work numbers right now, you can look at the intermediate term all you want and say this is more reflective of Social Security. I would say, why are you doing that to yourself? It doesn't make sense. Finally, let's go back to my blog post, because I've shared with this a couple times. If we look at the Japan model, which I think we're more in line with, right now Japan has a 2.4% unemployment. Yeah, look at that. I was actually the average annual jobless rate is 2.4% for 2019, whereas in January is 2.2. So 2019, the Japan was 2.4. 2.4, nuts. And so I think we're going more along the Japan model than we are hyperinflation for sure. And that just simply means with Japan, it means lower. Let's see if we can do inflation rate here. Yeah, I'm not sure here. But anyway, Japan, it doesn't matter. Japan has low inflation, low interest rates, low unemployment. So low interest rates is bad for relatively, because they're not getting much interest on their net interest income for Social Security. Taxation on benefits is only going to get increased until we pass some law to fix that. But that's such a small drop in the bucket; it's almost meaningless. It sucks for you, but from the overall Social Security Administration, it's not that big of a deal. It's workforce. Workforce is the driver, man. And if you look at Japan with workforce through the roof, i.e., low unemployment, the same thing's here, dudes. The same thing is here. We got 3.6 unemployment. Their best case scenario had 4.5. I don't know how you can't be optimistic by Social Security. So hope this helps. We'll see you next time. I'd love to hear your comments. Put them down in the notes. Thanks now.